We're in Clovis, California. We're just taking a video of the beginning portion of a project we're doing out here, setting a 50-gallon high-input Bradford White natural gas water heater. And we'll take a picture of that in a minute. What we wanted to do is get a picture of what's happening underneath. So this platform contains both the furnace and, of course, the water heater on the right. And when they framed this, they didn't really give you a wall out here. They gave you a 2x4 plate, and they gave you flat studs. Instead of like framing a wall like you would in residential construction. But then also up top, what they did is they actually cut this top plate out right here. They cut 1.5 inches out of it. And so that's like you can see it's like 2.5 inches wide instead of 3.5. So they notched that out all the way across. So, and then they stacked all the furnace and the plenum, the water heater all in there. Then they had a little leak, so this whole platform had collapsed. It was going in and across, and so what we did, we don't like to cut the top open, and underneath the water heater was pretty dry. Over here, still kind of wet, but what we did is we came in and gave you a full wall here, so you can see green plate or red plate, treated lumber on the bottom, and then 3 framing members, all 3-inch screws, and we lifted this platform back up. We actually, to get this top plate in, that one right there, we actually went over and used his floor jack. We got one side in, and then we couldn't get this up because the wood was so warped. But we got that in there, jacked it up, and then got 3 supports in total. So you can see across the back, there's actually 2 boards over there, one against the wall that's anchored. And sorry, there's no light here. It's anchored to the bottom sill. This is the garage, so you can see the stem wall drops down about 4 inches or so. But I got it anchored there, and then also there's a stud behind there in the wall framing. And so you got some screws in there too. And then we put another one in front of it to pick up this this board right here all the way across. Okay, so you've got one wall there, and then you can see the other one over there. It's that one right there. Same thing. Green plate, screws, all of that. So we essentially lifted this platform back up to where it was originally. Of course, before we started lifting, we put 3-inch screws through the top of the deck down into the framing so it didn't move. But anyways, the builder of the home, not the builder of the home, the framer that comes through and works for the builder. What an interesting job. I framed for a minute way back in the day, and you know, when we build a structure, it's not going to sag, it's not going to sink. So anyways, you got support now. That one right there sits almost directly underneath the center of the water heater. You can see that wall. There's our water heater. That's where everything's happening. You got a ledger on this side, which was installed, you know, when the home was built. So you can see up in there, there's a, it's just, they just tack a piece of wood to the sidewall. And I know that, sorry about the light. But here you've got a full wall underneath the water heater, and then you have a full wall over to here. What we wanted to do is split the difference between furnace equipment and water heater and get you some more support here, because we're concerned that this thing just keeps settling and falling down. And as you can see, the unit itself is kind of leaning from top to bottom here. We're not HVAC people, but anyway, so we got you some support for the entire stand, which helps support this. I mean, in the future you could come in and take this portion of the drywall out and build one more if you want. That's up to you, but we spent a ton of time in there, so we're not doing anymore. Anyways, we wanted to get that documented, and then we're going to take another video when we get done. We're not done installing the water heater yet, but we'll take this and add the 2 videos together, or just make 2 videos, and then we'll let you know how it goes. So still here in Clovis, California, and we have finished getting the water heater installed. Already first part of the video, it showed you the platform. We built some little pony walls down there, 2 of them, to bring this back up to where it was. And then of course we capped it off with some cement board. Still a little wet over here. We did give you some, this is like an ice and water shield around the perimeter. Because, you know, once we put the water heater in, you can't get to it anymore. This side we want to leave it. What we're going to do is leave you the material, which is right here. You just unroll it, take the sticky back off, and then you know, once this is nice and dry, I'm sure it'll stick to it. Or you can try something else, I don't know, but I thought, you know, if you had that, since I'm going to leave that with you, once this is nice and dry, you can go ahead and get this nice and clean here and dry, and this nice and clean and dry, and then run the tape, you know, and crease it here, and then let it sit over if you want to. But or you can do the idea you were talking about with the angle iron. I just don't know how to seal that. It seems like you would be like angle iron, and then maybe underneath just build up a real thick glob of either like foam rubber, so it's squishy, or some silicone, something like that. I'm not real sure, but first time we've had to try a sealed platform. Anyways, 50-gallon high input. That's your model number, serial number. You can go to bradfordwhite.com, get that registered. So this is the high input unit, built for space heating. It's a 50-gallon as opposed to the 75 that was in there. And so brand new gas line connected there. Up top, let's see if I can get up there because this is a real tall platform. So up top we did have to open it. This was open, and I don't believe this was our repair originally, because we don't typically, at least the time we were working on this home, we don't typically come in and do a Uponor female fitting to a copper press fitting, and then this went down to a soldered brass wingale like you can see over there, and we just don't do work like that. So this was left open. This needs to be sealed though. There's a little bit of insulation missing, I can tell, but I sent you my drywall guy at one point, and of course that gentleman has since passed away. God rest his soul. We do have another guy if you need a referral. We can send him to you, and he does fantastic work, so let us know and we'll get him over to you. But you know, probably have to cut a little bit out here. This is a little too intricate for me. I do some drywall work, but not to this extent. I did this down here, and not so bad. You know, there's no finish on it anymore. The tape, you know, the tape texture is not there; it's missing, and you'll have to seal it again. I did leave the bottom. Your epoxy floor, you floated it up so that it kind of seals, so I left that in place, and now it's just a matter of mud, and then tape, and then texture, or I mean, you know, do whatever you want to do in here. But that's capped off because it's open to the home. Underneath, like you saw in the first part of the video, it's open to the home, and so it's a fire hazard. Same thing up here, fire hazard. So get this sealed as soon as you can. Pump is yours. I guess we need to turn it back on, and it looks like it's upside down, but we didn't put it in, so I don't know. This is all theirs. Whoever the plumber that installed this for you, whether it was at the home, whatnot. Uponor out of the wall, no shutoff valves. So that's a little fussy about that. It should have a shutoff valve, but it doesn't, so no big deal there. We did cut this apart. This was all galvanized. What you had to stub it out of the wall, both sides, galvanized nipple, galvanized nipple. This one we actually got it unscrewed, which was great, and then got you a solid brass nipple in there like we told you we would. Got your grounding clamp back on there. I'm not sure why it's grounded to this because the house is all plastic, so I'm not sure how that works, but I'm not an electrician. So then I got you a shutoff valve, brass nipple, brass T. Then we made a transition here to copper press fittings, and so that guy right there, copper, and then reducer, and then there's a little lining in the corner. So that just got your recirc line tied back in, and we got to go run some water in the house and then get this turned back on. But for right now, it's unplugged until we get some water, you know, circulating in here. So that was the cold side. Hot side, we had to get creative because when we tried to unscrew the galvanized pipe, and they were so corroded so bad, and they were fused into place. When we tried to unscrew it, it just snapped the entire block apart. And so what we did is we just took it up here. This copper was stubbed down to the wingale. What we did is we cut it, gave you a press coupling, and then a press 90 below it. And then just to kind of keep it contained a little bit, I mean it's not the best that we'd like to do. Normally what we would do is we'd put this hold right on the copper, and then we would solder it, and that keeps it from moving, any movement back and forth. Problem is we have an O-ring inside of these press fittings, and so it would melt it. So we can't do that. Got your temperature sensor back on right here. You can slide this a little bit back and forth, but left it out enough to where you can work on the drywall. And then of course a press fitting here. These are Falcon stainless steel connectors. These are very expensive. Nobody uses those except us. Nobody buys them because they're in about 15 bucks each, which is no big deal. It's just the things that they install, you know, from the supply house are $5-6 bucks. But these are the large diameter full 3/4 inch inside diameter. So we come from that. So now it's pure copper, stainless steel down to brass. All of that flows and works great. Same thing on the other side. I showed you we went from the brass ball valve to a brass pipe nipple to a brass T, and then of course a little brass pipe nipple after that, and then Falcon stainless steel connector, and down to a brass extension. We like to use these because the face of this brass extension at the top, we file it, it makes it nice and flat, and that gasket seals real good. Most people just take this and tie it down right to that pipe nipple, and sometimes there's a conflict and you get a little bit of leaking out of there. We don't like that, so we go ahead and put these on. Brand new pipe coming up into the ceiling. That's your ceiling bucket. That's installed when they built the home, so that's framed in up top, and then then of course they paint and get everything all over it, which is fine. But the pipe that's in the attic goes up through the roof, and that's dual wall B-vent. This pipe is single wall, which is by code you got to be 6 inches away from combustibles, which you're fine. You're far enough away from the wall, the ceiling, everything. So single wall, brand new adjustable 90, brand new piece of pipe, brand new adjustable 90 down to the brand new draft diverter, which comes with the unit. Relief line over here, installed at the factory, pointing straight down. So a little brass nipple and a little shorty connector going down to your existing pipe. So this pipe goes down the wall and terminates on the outside of the building behind your fence. Same thing as your condensate line from your HVAC equipment terminates over there as well. So that's, if you go out the back door, then you got to open the gate and go around. You can see both those lines. Copper's for the relief valve, and then PVC is for the furnace over there. Upper third adjustable strap, and then lower third adjustable strap. We set the water heater temperature to hot, which is approximately 120 degrees. A130, B140, C150, very hot 160. We recommend leaving it at 120. And if you did have a, like you said, you had a big soaking tub, like I say, it's high recovery, so this water is going to recover within 15 to 20 minutes. That's while you're showering, so you might not even have to worry about it. Smaller units or standard units that aren't high input, sometimes you'll turn the water up, so you'll send hotter water, which means you get the same amount of water, but it's so hot you have to temper it more with cold, so it feels like a bigger water heater. But this one you shouldn't have trouble with. Plus, you got scalding issue. EPA recommends 120 for infants and elderly people, with dementia and whatnot. They can't remember that it's hot, or little babies and older folks. Their skin is thin, so they get burned real easy. So they recommend 120. We work for hospice centers, and they'll keep it at 115, 110. Just so nobody gets scalded. Up here at 140, EPA recommends this one because it prevents bacteria from growing in the tank. So if you went on vacation for a month and you just had storing water, at 140 nothing could grow. At 120 something could, and that is linked to Legionnaire's disease. Haven't read any articles about it, it's that happening to someone, but that's the fact of the matter. These inlets are not used because that's for space heating, which would be for this furnace if it was hydronic. And so they just had those plugs are installed at the factory, and it looks like they're good. We installed one time, and it had this little dribble. They'd cross-threaded it, and we had to take it back out and replumb everything. So anyways, everything here looks good. Outside of that, this installation is done.